My name is Bridget Ochuko, and I am doing a pelvic health residency, traditionally titled women's health, but we definitely treat more than just women. And I am doing it at Washington University in St. Louis. I used to be an athlete. I was kind of inspired by being able to help people. And I liked the idea of helping people after something has already occurred and kind of just helping them improve their quality of life. And as I went through school, I knew I was passionate about it, but I wasn't finding that spark that a lot of people would. I could see people were really passionate about ortho or sports, and I thought it was cool. But I was like, okay, I can do any of that, but didn't really feel the strong pull. And the first time pelvic health was mentioned in school, which it's not mentioned often, so that's probably a part of the reason why it takes a little bit for people to know. The first time it was mentioned, my ears perked up, unlike a lot of other people who are kind of like, "Whoa, I don't think I want to do anything like that." And I heard about pelvic health, and I was like, "This is really cool, and a space that I feel like I would love to know more about." I always told myself, like, if I was in another field or another part of the medical field, I would like to be involved with pregnancy and birthing. And so when I learned that PTs could have an impact on that, that kind of influenced me to go down that path. So prior to the residency program, I had not had any experience as a practicing PT outside of our clinical rotations and whatnot. So once I realized pelvic health was what I wanted to get into, it was pretty clear that we weren't going to get a lot of education in school. And that's not uncommon in PT programs. It's just super specialized. And I've always been someone who wanted to put my best foot forward as soon as I possibly could. And to me, getting that mentoring that the residency can bring you in pelvic health is kind of the best way to really gain experience, short of treating as many patients as you can. And so having mentors to walk me through that process and kind of the growing pains of learning how to be a PT and then to specialize as well, I had a feeling that education I would gain from it would be invaluable and that it really would kind of set up the foundation for the rest of my career. So physical therapy for better birth was an amazing program that I ended up kind of falling into creating with some other really wonderful pelvic health PTs. So it was during my year completing my dual degree. So I was getting my master's in public health along with my DPT. And I had to write a thesis. And I knew right away what I wanted to do. For me, I was like, this is what's going to make this worth it. All this work is for it all to come together in the career that I want to do. So I knew I liked birthing. I knew I liked PT. I was becoming a PT, and I wanted to figure out what we could do to help Black birthing moms. During my time getting my MPH, it was very vocalized within the news, and we finally started talking about the Black maternal mortality rate. And once I was hearing that and about how bad it was in my own state of Georgia, I was like, I would love to try to figure out what we can do to combat this before we can even get to that space of actually having our babies. And so it really inspired me to look into what other birthing professionals do outside of the hospital. And then I've always been intrigued by doula work, and it's a part of something that I'm hoping to include in my practice in the future as well. So my thought was, why not reach out to doulas and see what they know or what they would like to know about pelvic floor physical therapy and see if we could increase that interprofessionalism between birth workers and pelvic floor PTs so we could help our patients together as a whole. So I was not the only person thinking about this, and this is kind of how our minds came together. And it really started as this grassroots. We were just putting our ideas out there, and when people started hearing what we were doing, they also wanted to be a part of it as well. And so this project, I have been continue to be involved in it throughout my entire residency. Now we have gotten sponsorship and funding to actually create a really solidified large educational program that we can give to doula organizations. And so my plan is to continue to just build upon these programs as I continue on in my career. So a big part of what I was looking for was a residency that would really respect my wants and desires to figure out ways to get pelvic floor PT to underserved communities. So I really was looking for residencies that were kind of already doing that work. And a big part of what drew me to WashU is that the women's health residents are in charge of the pro bono clinic here in St. Louis. And that right there, I was like, just being able to learn how to work within a pro bono clinic, to learn how to work with translators, because we're treating patients that speak so many other languages, and to figure out how to make that own program better in itself was a big part of the reason that I wanted to come to WashU. And then along with that, I wanted to go to a space where pelvic health was really robust. And they have done a lot of work here in St. Louis. The Washington University in St. Louis is probably the one place that I have ever seen the most pelvic floor physical therapists in my life. And it was amazing to see that, to see the relationship with the doctors, the OB-GYNs, and the ones referring to us, and how much they respect our work is not everywhere. And so I knew that I could kind of get the best education here with these professionals surrounding me. Honestly, one of the things that I really, really loved was the ability to have a project that we wanted to head and figure out what we wanted to do with it. And then now at the end of the residency, presenting that project. And with that, I got to dive even deeper into my passions. As I started here at WashU, I knew that I was really passionate about birthing, and I didn't realize how passionate I would become about chronic pelvic pain as well. So it allowed me to create a project where I'm using my skills that I have as a yoga instructor, as a pelvic floor physical therapist, and that knowledge to help educate people with chronic pelvic pain, and creating programs for them outside of having to come into the clinic. So it's kind of another extension of what I want to do within this field, is to really increase community education so that everyone can have this information, and not just the people that are lucky enough to get into the door. So one was a yoga teacher training, which was a really big part of just what I wanted in my back pocket as a tool within my career. I knew that I could figure out how to meld yoga and PT, and there's a ton of people out there doing it as well. So getting that before the residency was awesome. It really solidified my confidence in movement and being able to teach people about that. I also got my level 1 pelvic health certification. I technically got it a few times, one through school, and then I was lucky enough to be sponsored to take the course as well. That was huge prior to residency. A lot of residencies, especially in public health, they do look for that, just to have kind of that baseline knowledge. And it really allowed me to feel a little bit more comfortable with a field that honestly we don't touch on in school. And unless you get a clinical rotation, you don't really get to practice. So I felt a little confident in that knowledge in that sense. And I would absolutely tell everyone, whatever direction they want to go in, take the opportunities to get those courses in, at least one, because your residency will supplement the rest. So it was nice when I got here. I took the course again. And so I felt really, really well-rounded because I had essentially 3 opportunities to really get my basics down. And so that was a huge part of, I think, what helped me at the very beginning of my residency. I would say really go to a program that checks all the boxes about what you want to do with your career. Once you are asked for an interview, remember that you're interviewing them more than they are interviewing you. And it definitely feels like yes, they have to choose me, but if you get to that interview process, they already know that you're amazing. And what I learned the most is that if I speak from my heart and speak passionately, it speaks so much louder than, I mean, even my experience. And that's what a lot of my mentors stated they really remembered from my interviews. So to really kind of practice and understand how you want to verbalize your passion for what you want to get into and the reason behind what you want to do. If you have a desire to change something about this profession, don't be afraid to say it. People are looking for innovative thinkers. Give yourself the space to actually apply and prepare for these interviews. Because if you do it right out of school, it's often in your last semester or last year. And so if you're juggling a lot of things, like if you want to take early boards, maybe consider doing them later just to get through the interview process. That's what I did, and I do not regret that at all. Um, so some things like that where you kind of just really set up and prepare yourself to engage into these interviews. I really wish I could explain in words how much knowledge I've gained in the 1 year that I've been here. One thing that people say is that 1 year of residency is equivalent to 5 years of clinical practice. And absolutely, I can 100% attest to that. The knowledge gained is so much on literally a daily level. And the more experience you get, the more knowledge you gain from your relationships with patients. And the mentorship is just, I mean, you can't get anything like that when you have required scheduled mentorship to where someone who's been doing this a lot longer than you can tell you about ways to do things better. And I think it's always, always great to get those critiques. This is a profession where we should be learning every single day. It's evidence-based. So we want to be a part of putting that good evidence out there. So I think that it's expanded a lot. I had no idea there were so many different types of physical therapy. I think those are really, really being highlighted. I think that we are grasping onto issues that we as PTs realized we could have a big impact on and actually trying to be a little bit more vocal about it. So when I think the opioid crisis kind of put PTs on the map, and that was like right when I was applying to PT school. So like in 2017. And then we got put on the map again with COVID and long COVID and how PTs really kept a lot of people alive when they were in the hospitals. And I honestly have no doubt it's going to happen again in pelvic health and with birthing because of what we see with maternal mortality and morbidity. And not that we have a huge impact necessarily on the mortality, but I think we're starting to talk about how the morbidity can lead to that. And we can have a major impact on that. So I think there's going to be another surge where PTs are getting put on the map because they're seeing that we can help with these issues that the medical field doesn't know how to approach quite yet. So truly just the fact that people know about it. And I think as a profession, we're really trying to get to people at a younger age so that by the time they're in undergrad, they already know the direction they want to go. When I decided to do this, there were very few people that could tell me what steps I had to take to even get to PT school. So I think that knowledge is changing. So I am planning to move back home to Atlanta after being in St. Louis for a year. So I'm very excited about that. I'm kind of hoping I'm still thinking about where I actually want to work. But after going through this residency, I've learned that for myself, ensuring that I have really good work-life balance is the way that I'm going to give my patients the best version of myself. So I'm really focusing to make sure that I'm looking for a place that fosters that. And that also helps decrease chances of burnout, that's another thing I really learned in pelvic health. It's not just physical, it's very mental and it's very emotional. My goal is to have that good balance and then to ensure that I'm continuing to stay involved in community advocacy and education and creation of programs so that everyone can experience pelvic floor physical therapy and not just the people who have access to it. So it's all about representation. And I think that we talk about this a lot today in the news and in society, but the way that things change when you can see yourself in someone else, the way your outcomes change are incredible. There have been studies about like, why do Black men not go to doctors? Or why does it seem that more of the Black community don't go to doctors? And I've had a ton of conversations with the Black community here in St. Louis. Has this wonderful hospital system, Wash U, but for them, it has not always been that wonderful. And over and over and over again, all I see is that people have not felt seen and they have felt like they were unheard. And I can't tell you how many of my patients would walk in, my minority patients walk in and they say, wow, I am so happy to see you. And you are the reason I'm coming back, solely because they know that I can see life through their lens. And it's really important in physical therapy because we're trying to improve people's quality of life. And that doesn't just include whether you can walk or whether you can run and work out, but it's about, are you sleeping? Do you have balance in work life? Do you have help with other people that you're caring for? How can we make your life easier so you can achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve in PT? And inevitably, it's much easier to understand that if you know the perspective that people are coming from. So just the fact that people want to get treatment and want to stay in treatment because they see someone that looks like them, I think that's reason enough to explain why diversity is so important in physical therapy and in the medical field in general. Everything that I talk about, Rising Tide kind of just like wraps it up in a pretty bow and shows that the fact that there's this organization trying to lift up minorities that are in the field, what we see is we continue to like try to get higher education and try to gain more knowledge, is that there's just less and less and less of us. So it gets isolating and it gets scary. And then you get burnt out because, you know, it's like you don't even have anyone to talk to you about what your experiences are. And just being able to be surrounded by so many different people from so many different backgrounds who are all doing the same things as you and have the same mindset, it gives me so much hope about the direction that medicine can go. The fact that I am one of the newer groups that are a part of this, it feels really, really good to know that we're setting the foundation for hopefully so many others to come after us. This foundation is, this kind of scholarship is, there needs to be more of these out there. And I think the more that there are, the more that minorities will feel safe and comfortable and supported throughout this entire process.